Hi, Lucas. Do you have any questions? Ajahn is ready.
ไม่มีใครเลยนะ
Your mic is mute.
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
สวัสดีค่ะยังไม่มีใครมาเลยเลยค่ะ
มี9 คนครับท่านอาจารย์
9 คน เริ่มได้เลยคุณแอนมาเปล่าคะ
เมื่อกี้มาค่ะสวัสดีค่ะท่านอาจารย์ค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะคุณแอนค่ะ
Oh, everyone else.
Hello, Lucas, everyone.
Yes. Does anyone have something they'd like to start with? Lucas, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I was thinking recently, well, today, my first day that I can think, properly. But anyway, I was thinking about this, not really a charita, but chariya, yeah, like a good conduct, I think, in Pali,
yes but is it Dhamma?
Tanajan, I remember you says before, like it's a Vinyanacharya, Anyanacharya, Jnanacharya, it's Dhamma that sense, yeah, but I'm asking about something like more go to the ground, yeah, like mundane thing, like conduct in the conceptual sense, like good behavior,
Yes, but without citta, can there be behavior?
No, it cannot be. Without Chitta Chetasi cannot be. And Rupa also that does something, yeah.
And the absolute truth is that actually what is there is not anyone at all. And it does not belong to anyone either. Because it's just there. But ignorance is there, thinking about many, many things, not understanding what is there from moment to moment. Is this a point just to listen to the story about it, or to understand the truth, the absolute truth of this very moment? Because if it is not understood in this life, how can there be more understanding after this life? That's why it has to be started, begin to understand the truth from moment to moment, because without that, there cannot be what we say, behavior or situation or any happening at all. So the point is to understanding. This is the most important. Otherwise, we just think about many, many things with the idea of something and I all the time, not only in this life, but on and on and on, as we have studied or haven't heard before at all. The same, no matter we heard about the eye sense, the seeing, and so on, but no understanding of the truth of it. So what's the use? Just talk about that, which is now here and there, which can be directly understood as it is, not as what we take it for something all the time, even good behavior.
But Tanajan, because I understand that people are different, Vichita, and because I was thinking, because everyone is have different accumulations, and I understand many people here understand the Paramattha Dhamma explanation, but somehow I think I'm not ready yet to understand Paramattha Dhamma, like Chitta Cetasika Rupa. It's very, very deep Dhamma, profound. And I was thinking maybe I supposed to be good guy. In that sense, there is no self. I understand a little, there is no self, though we take everything for us. And this is like imaginary world. It's not truth, not really. But what I was thinking, Tanajan, maybe I supposed to be more good person, like in conventional sense. Because I know many people, even different religions, they do good, and this benefits them,
What about to be good guy but no understanding of the truth from life.
But at least you don't make a bad karma, you know, so maybe reborn in a better place.
That's why we still think of something, not the
Right, yeah.
truth of that which is now appearing. And
Yeah.
when there can be the moment of understanding the absolute truth, which is now appearing, this is the point. Because life is just only in a moment only.
Right.
If there's not this moment, can there be any life? But from moment to moment it's there by conditions and ignorance and wrong understanding from life to life. That's why is it time now to begin to see the value of understanding the truth, which is so very, very deeply rooted, very, very subtle, the attachment and ignorance about it. Even there is a reality appearing right now, and we are talking about it. But still, what is subtle is the characteristic which is there, as not we have heard before, as no thing in it, no one in it. What is there? It's just a moment, which is so very short and then gone. Is this not true? And it has to be like this, never changed. Nobody can change it. But there can be the understanding of the truth to have less ignorance and less clinging, even to be a good guy. One can be, as one think, the best in life, but no understanding of the truth. And it has to be like this, eons and eons, on and on and on. And who can change the conditions for any moment to arise? Unwholesome or behavior, bad or good, see, by conditions. But if there is the understanding of conditions, there can be more conditions to be good guy. Not just try to be without understanding. Impossible, because not understanding conditions for such reality. So one thinks that one can do, and one would try, but actually, what is there? More ignorance, more attachment, and more akusala in different manners, as we call bad guy, see, by conditions. So only understanding can condition moment of changing from ignorance and unwholesome moment into more understanding, little by little, better behavior, little by little, by understanding, not by one try so hard to do, which is impossible. So the best thing in life is to understand the truth, because understanding the truth cannot bring any sorrow or bad behavior or anything at all, but not as it should be, the understanding of the truth. So the behavior follow the ignorance and attachment. So the best thing in life is the moment of hearing about what is there and understanding the subtlety of what is said, as what is there now is conditioned. See, no one can make seeing arise, hearing to arise, and anything arise at all. But it's there already by conditions, and ignorance and attachment take it for something from time to time, from moment to moment in life, years and years ago, and on and on. It's still there, ignorance of the truth of what is now appearing. That's why hearing, just to know the deep condition for any behavior, the accumulation of such and such, uncontrollable, because it's there already. But right understanding begins to understand, and developing the understanding that the understanding only can condition moment of realization, the truth of what is there, which is so very subtle. But it can be from moment to moment, understanding it a little better, like absorbing the understanding in order to clean up the accumulation of unwholesomeness. So much uncomparable at all, how much it is. Even at this moment, it does not show up. But when the words and the speech and deeds are there, it can be understood at what condition that Not me, because one tries to be good, but what conditions such unwholesome moment, wholesome behavior, wholesome, unwholesome, unwholesome speech and deed, see, by conditions. So the point is, in order to try to have less, there must be more understanding of the truth. And that is the only way. Because panya, right understanding, does not hurt. It brings more understanding, leading to more wholesome moments in life. Until the realization of the truth, which is now as deep as it is, will be revealed by panya. It appears well. So even just the word well is very subtle too, because it seems like whatever is seems clear, no understanding of the truth. How can it be clear? It just passes on and on, never stay at all, gone any moment, unknown. And that is the truth. So does it appear well as it is? So what is meant by appears well means panya, understand it. So it appears as it is, little by little, until the truth is there to be realized anytime by conditions. And this is the subtlety of the fourth noble truth, the path leading to understand what is there now as it is, because the first truth is the arising and falling away, the impermanence of everything. But it's not now, because it seems that everything does not arise and fall away at all. It's there all the time. So to consider the truth and the condition for it, and understand that ignorance cannot condition the good behavior at all. Only the wholesome realities which develops little by little from moment to moment until panya is there. So the panya does not kill. So the panya does not do wrong deeds.
Sotapanna, Tanajan Sotapanna cannot, is unable to perform any akusala karma by body and speech, I think, if I'm right.
Because you, sorry, because Sotapanna has no doubt about what is there at all.
Right.
So how can they be killing? Because the understanding of whatever is there is conditioned by many, many conditions, including karma too. So why do we kill? That person has conditions to be such and such, wholesome or unwholesome, pleasant feeling, pleasant situation or unpleasant situation, by conditions. Just to have metta, that anyone who do wrong and have such and such behavior, by conditions. So the best to be is at that very moment, don't have the one's own citta to be unwholesome, but to be kind, to have compassion, to help, because this is the best thing in life. Help the others to understand the truth. Otherwise, no matter one helps by way of many things, and it can just be satisfied for a very, very short moment and then gone. But the understanding of the truth can develop on and on until one day it appears as it is. That no I, even that moment of understanding or listening now or seeing now, very natural. That's right. If it's not the understanding of what is there now, it's useless. No matter what word, it doesn't lead to understanding what is there. So what is the use? But from hearing, and one understand the behavior, good behavior, or what is what. But the absolute truth, what is there? No one, only different realities. Citta performs its citta function, Cetasika, each one performs its function. It arises by conditions to perform its function when it's nama. Each nama, the reality which can experience an object, experience the object by different manners, different functions. So no one. Otherwise, there must be ignorance and clinging on and on and on and on endlessly. Samsara goes on, cannot get away from the way it is. The cycle of just seeing again, hearing again, thinking again, eating again, doing anything again and again and again, and then gone. Even there's no thinking about it. Even now, we don't think about the other things just a moment ago. But we think about whatever from now on, usually, see, and not understanding whatever even thinking is conditioned to just to think only that, not other subject or story at all. And this is life so true. Nobody can change the way, no one, but it's the unknown. Because ignorance of the characteristic which appears, take it for something very permanent. I see my body, my hand, the others, the world, things around. Without seeing, can there be anything like we are thinking of?
Without seeing, then, well, with Tanajan, without seeing, then we cannot think of people, like we know. Blind people, from birth. They don't know like us, You said many times before that, Tanajan, that we're taking out things out of visible object, and I always find it very wise,
And what is the absolute truth? Shouldn't be known.
Yeah, of
Just
course,
David.
of course. If this is possible by Panya only and Sati, it can know, not us, yeah.
That's why Panya is not just the word, it represents
No,
a
it's not. I
reality
know.
which can understand the truth of what is there according to conditions, very little or more or strong enough to let go the idea of self, not just by thinking, but by directly experience the truth. Otherwise, there cannot be the eradication of ignorance and wrong understanding. That's why from being worldly people to be asotapana, not by the name, but by the nature of panya of that degree that can directly experience what is there. Firstly, from hearing about it, consider carefully about the truth. And that moment, it's no one, no disturbing, because it's moment of understanding. But later on, conditions for such and such realities arising by conditions and ignorance still not understand anything at all. But at moment of beginning to hear about the truth, there can be moment of considering that is so true, even just that which is seen. See, if we don't think enough, we just pass on. Okay, it's seen, what is seen, it's the object of seeing, that's all. But actually, it's not only that, it's that to be directly experience the truth too. Otherwise, one just believe. What about the understanding? But understanding is not believing wrongly, but it understand the truth of it. And there are many, like we say, cetasikas performing the function at that very moment, considering and so on, and vitaka and so on. And they are working now, even right now, no one at all. So we hear it again and again and again until it absorbs, just like the akusala at ooze at once when it's seen after 3 moments of seeing, but the panya develops in different way. It just begins to think and understand and absorb the truth little by little until no one can change the panya which understand the truth that it should be, it has to be, and it could be directly experienced. That's why hearing more. And at that moment, no one, but different Jetasikas, many realities arising and falling away by conditions. That's all. Until even right now, it's not me. Whatever in life, from moment of waking up until falling fast asleep, by conditions, no one at all. And understanding can understand. And when it understands this, it knows that as long as there is still ignorance and attachment, one cannot be good guy.
Mm.
And the best is not just being good, more than that, with right understanding. And understanding changed the way that one used to live as before, because it understands, it knows what is there, what is wrong and what is right, what is wholesome and what is unwholesome, and it's not anyone at all, anything, only conditioned reality arising and falling away, like the fire, just keep on by conditions. As long as there are conditions, no one can stop it. Each moment. And sometimes in Tipitaka it says that akusa is like just like the fire. It burns
Oh, fine.
unknowingly.
There is a
That's why when there is the understanding of the truth, Panya, right understanding, can understand the meaning of the word of the Buddha. Very, very subtle, talking about now what is there. Because if we don't pay attention to this moment, it's gone. So it doesn't matter that which has gone. What about now? And now, and now, and now, and now, until it appears as it arises and falling away, and followed by other moments, different realities by conditions. And this is life, from life to life, depending on conditions, to be such and such as we take for person or behavior.
Nimitta, Tanajan, isn't it?
Nimitta?
Nimitta, yes, because it
What?
seems like it lasts, Tanajan. Again and again and again and again, and Nimitta, always Nimitta.
Yes, it's not the word, but it's now this moment, because you
Right.
see that as the arising and falling away of the mental factors, the chitta and Cetasika does not appear as it is. So what appears is only the object which is experienced. Because even now, the characteristic which experiences is not known, because it's me who see, who hear, but actually it's the reality which is conditioned just to arise and experience. And different object, no matter it's sound or visible object or smell, the experiences, that reality arises just to experience, no one at all. That's why it's different from other mental factor like Cetasika. See, we call it mental factor, and the Pali word is Cetasika because it arises with the reality, which is the chief of experiencing the different characteristic of each one, from one to one now, to condition different shape and form by different colors which Chitta experienced and fall away continuously, very, very closely, that it conditioned the shape and form as nimitta, something, the sign, the symbol, the mark of that which is there, of color, different one. From moment to moment, how repetitive it is, the succession of the arising and falling away. Because what is seen, each unit or whatever is there, kalapa, which is seen, has to impinge on the ibis, because no one can, the seeing cannot see what is there at the back, but only that which impinges on it. So how many moments of impinging, and what appear is the nimitta of something.
Mm.
Like we touch one point on the paper, it cannot be anything, but more and more, it can be a tree or flower or whatever it is, just like now. But it's not just one dot at a time, so because it's so very, very fast until what appears in life. In Tipitaka, it says that the nimitta of rupa, the nimitta of feeling, the nimitta of sanya, the nimitta of sankhara khanda, the nimitta of vijnana. So we live in the world of nimitta because no experiencing of the truth as nothing is there. Because whatever arises falls away instantly, unknown. That's why no one can experience directly until Panya develops enough. But even so, Panya which experiences only the nimitta of a reality. And without the teachings, it's so very, very deep that no one can thought about it at all. Because when we talk about by way of the vara, doorway of experiencing an object, the doorway, each doorway has to fall away with pavanka in between, and then the next process begin again and again and again, many processes just to be object which is taken because of the shape and form as nimitta. So what is there is only nimitta. Even vipassana jnana, what cannot be nimitta? Nibbana. But that which arises, did anyone experience sampatichana, santirana, votapana, panchatuvara vasana? Never. But what is there which appears is seeing. So it's the nimitta of the seeing of many processes, many moments of seeing. So how can anyone experience that without the teaching of the enlightened one who had developed parami enough to become enlightened as Buddha? But since anyone can follow the teaching and develop understanding, that's why he taught. And there are so many savaka, no matter in this world or in heaven or Brahma world. The truth is the truth, but it has to begin with confidence of the truth, depending on would you like to understand it or would you like just to live in not understanding anymore, anything at all, depending on conditions. That's why Buddha taught to those who can understand the teachings and can understand and can develop understanding from the first word of hearing about Dhamma, the reality, no one or Dhammas are anatta. Just keep on hearing, and at this moment, no one there. And this is the path leading to realization of the noble truth. Otherwise, that cannot be the savaka, the sangha. But in the Buddha's time, there were many by conditions, lots of number of people and Deva and Brahma. So one can understand the teachings when one understands the value, the precious reality is understanding the truth. And it has to not just instantly at once, it has to develop, and it's now developing at moment of understanding only. But as long as it is only the intellectual understanding, it's not panya which appears as panya, because it's still I am listening, I'm considering until it's there by satipatthana, direct understanding with direct awareness. It's there. Understanding directly what is there now. And that really means only one characteristic, but it is the nimitta of that characteristic. Otherwise, what's the use of listening to the truth of what is there now if it's not for developing understanding, to understand that actually, no matter what is there in a day, no one and nothing, because so short, just arise and falls away instantly all the time.
That's why, Tanajan, we know when there is no panya, yes, and when is panya maybe for some moments, but very rare. But usually there is no understanding, there is no panya in life. It goes like that, yeah. A concept, isn't it?
Until panya is known as no me, not
Yeah.
I who understand.
Right, as no us, yeah. As
So
no me. Yeah.
how long it will take to develop understanding, to let
Aeons and aeons.
yeah, that's true.
That's true, right, Tanajan?
Which let go the wishing to
Right.
experience so soon.
Loba, and Chanda.
Yes. Otherwise, it's there all the time, unknown as the cause for the first noble truth.
Right, cause Loba. Samudaya Sacha, yeah, Dukkha Samudaya Sacha, second noble truth.
But if we don't understand that what and when, we just say it's the cause. But even right now, is it there after seeing?
Well, who knows? Probably, That's why Buddha teaches Satipatthana to know the four references of the awareness and panya. So it's not like it coming like that. It needs to be a development of Satipatthana, Tanajan.
Yes, but what conditions sati to be satipatthana?
Oh, Sati to be Satipatthana, Panya. That's Sati Sampajana.
Is panya enough? It can be known right now. It's satipatthana. If it's not because
It's not,
the panya is not enough yet. That's
right, Tanajan, yeah.
That's why we understand what's meant by parami. Para is nibbana. To attain nibbana, to reach the moment of eradication of such and such akusla.
Asava.
Pitta sava, see?
Ditti Asava, yeah. That's the worst one, isn't it? The first one and the worst one, Ditti. It's so deeply rooted, the Ditti, whatever,
That's why we don't underestimate the truth that is so very deep that it's just not like wanting to have it, try to have it, or somewhere to try to do it. It's impossible. But at this very moment, to be satya, the truth, to be truth to the truth, to be truthful to the truth, is the understanding of seeing right now, or touching right now, or hearing right now, or sound right now. So no one can tell the other at all. It has to be one own. No matter who would say, oh, that person knows a lot or know very little, it doesn't matter at all because the truth is the truth. And that is Satya Parami.
Yes. But I still, Tanajan, I think now, at least I have a little more than 10 years ago of Satya Parami still, A little
that
bit.
is Panya which knows the truth.
Yeah. But even Panya may be past Panya because now is no Panya on me, in me. So maybe past Panya done,
And where's the past Panya?
Oh, it's gone, Tanajan. We can only recollect maybe, by Araman Pachaya.
And what about the accumulation, the Pakatu Panisya Pachaya?
Also, I think Pakatu Panisaya Pachaya, it's accumulated in the Chitta now, so we can have more Panya. If there is Yasmin Samaye. Also,
And next Monday, can there be a little more panya from now?
yes, if the conditions allow us, there may be little bit more or maybe nothing.
That's right. It depends on moment of understanding.
That's it.
Even if
Yeah.
born, it's there in the chitta accumulated as Asya.
It's asaya, asaya. It's
The
a wholesome and
accumulation
wholesome.
of wholesome reality
Mm,
and akusala.
yeah. So Tanajan, there is no self really, yeah?
Say it again, please.
Tanaja, what I'm saying, so there is no self anywhere, yeah? That's no me, no you, no anyone else. There is no self, right?
Absolutely. No
Okay,
one.
that's how we learn. That's what I need to be more sure about, you know.
You can see that many people are not interested in
No, not at all.
understanding
Yes,
anything
yes,
at all, but many people also are interested in hearing about the truth, to consider what is that. It's different from other words because it talks just about the truth of this moment, and
right.
there can be consideration of that, whether it's true or not. And what is there to understand the truth as the truth is a reality which is called panya or samatiti or yana or vicha, whatever, by different levels too. Not me. Until even panya is not me. Nothing can be taken for anyone because it's gone so rapidly. Just arise to be unknown, to be attached to. See, each moment. Is that wise? Is that right understanding? To take that which is no more as it's still there.
No, it's not. It's ignorance, Tanajan. And Diti,
Mhm.
maybe. Sakusala.
That's the most precious moment in life is moment of understanding and the moment of hearing to consider whether it's right or wrong. And panya is there, developed little by little until it's time of enlightenment, realization of the truth of what is said now. Each word is so true and it has to be so natural because even right now, nothing is as this moment.
Even the little panya, Tanajan, can we say there is intellectual panya too?
As long as it's not the direct understanding, yet it is intellectual understanding.
It's also kusala, Tanajan. Yeah.
Yes, because it is the moment of understanding. Even just a little is not wrong.
That's it.
That's why among all the realities arising and falling away, panya is the best. Even so, it does not belong to anyone. But it is called as Sariputta or Mokkhalana or Buddha. Just listen or read and thought and think carefully, wisely. It's so true. And that very moment of understanding the truth, it develops little by little. It's accumulated little by little. Otherwise, people cannot be different, cannot be Sariputta or Mokkhalana or Kassapa.
Ananda also. He was good in memory, Ananda, Tanajan,
Yes,
by
not just
condition.
be good in memory, but in other ways too.
Yeah.
And the point about Charya, which you brought up at the beginning, Lucas,
Yes.
is that it's different at each moment. So at the moment when there is a little understanding, you can call it good behavior, moment of kusala, it's charya. At a moment of clinging, following, so soon afterwards, it's Charya. So no matter who
Right.
we're talking about, different cheetahs at different moments, kusala and akusala, charya, changing all the time. And like you said, people have different accumulations, even the ones who have heard a lot about the Dhamma, there's not interest in understanding Paramattha Dhammas all the time. So moments of understanding, many moments of ignorance, many moments of attachment, clinging to other objects. So each moment is different. Each kusala and akusala charya is accumulated and then gone completely, but no one there at all. Just moments of kindness, moments of understanding, moments of meanness, moments of ignorance accumulated and then gone. So it's the same for everyone, just different cheetahs at different moments. Good guy for a moment of understanding, and then when there's attachment, no more good guy or good girl or anyone at all.
Yeah, but the Buddha discouraged bad behavior, you know, like the gross one, you know. I was wondering about that, you know, why Buddha discouraged people to don't do gross things, you know.
Because it's what is the cheetah when doing such bad behavior like killing or stealing, it's very strong akusala cheetahs. And akusala cheetah is so harmful, it causes so much trouble in one's life. It causes so much difficulty for oneself and for others. And it brings bad results in every way possible. So the Buddha pointed out the harm, not just of such strong akusala, but even a little akusala, even just thinking about doing harm. It's unwholesome and it causes a lot of trouble. No good guy at those times at all. So the Buddha encouraged all kinds of kusala, but especially understanding, because it's the only way out of this mess, out of this cycle of ignorance and clinging again and again and trouble in life after life after life.
Sarah, but would you agree that kusala, wholesomeness, helps panya to very much, the wholesomeness?
But
helps
who can make wholesomeness arise? Like
no
metta.
one. Well, this is out of control, of course, because even
Yes.
wholesomeness needs understanding, isn't it?
That's
know.
right. Like
Yeah. It's
like
a
metta,
skill, you know?
without understanding, who can know what metta
That's
is?
it. That's it. That's why wisdom is panya is the most important, isn't it?
The foremost. So
foremost,
as understanding develops,
yeah.
yes, as understanding develops, all kinds of kusala develop with it, because without understanding, how can it be known what is metta, what is generosity, what is good guy or good behavior? So it all depends on panya right from the beginning. And sometimes yes, and that's why one time someone mentioned some difficulties that you had, and Ajahn said no one can help, because the point is it's only panya, only the development of understanding that can help all problems in life.
Right, because there is no me. I know that, you know.
Right.
There is
no
me.
No.
So how can I do anything, you know, if there is no me, because there is no control over dhammas, you know.
Right.
At all. And we learn that, isn't it, Sarah?
And this is the greatest treasure in life.
Well, it is indeed. It's very important to me, you know.
Right. Anyway, we appreciate your interest and understanding,
you,
even at these times of difficulty.
All of you for also, I'm happy for you. And for Tanajan especially, you know.
And sometimes people misunderstand and they think that because we're studying Paramattha Dhammas, it means that conventionally, oh, don't go to the doctor, no need to go to the doctor or take medicine or whatever. Of course, life carries on as usual. If we're sick, we get medicine, or if we have problems, we talk to our friends. But there can be the development of understanding anytime, any situation.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Tan Ajahn. Maybe someone else can raise a question, you know. And thank you. I feel much, much better now, you know. And yeah, thank you, Tan Ajahn. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you all.
And it takes courage and patience to
Yeah.
join and to bring up these points and these good questions. So thank you for that too.
Yeah, it's
Lucas.
also a long, long, long way, yeah, the Dhamma to understand.
Very
It's a
long way.
Yeah. Slowly, slowly. Okay.
Yeah, Lucas, it's Sundar here. I've really appreciated your questions and listening to Tanajan. I've really appreciated that. So feel free to ask anytime. I've really appreciated listening to you and hearing the response from Tanajan. Really appreciated that. So it's very valuable because it helps us all. It always helps us all. So your questions are a condition to help us all, and that's very valuable. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sundara. That's why we're friends, because no one can understand, I think, in my opinion, no one can understand everything, you know, for himself. Then what? That's why I understand we are all Dhamma friends, good Dhamma friends, you know. That's why we tell each other what one understand at the moment, you know, like Tanajan is doing that so many years, you know. So appreciate it, you know, so much, really.
Oh, yeah, totally right. I mean, the Buddha once said when he was speaking to Ananda, and Ananda said to the Buddha that having good friends is half the holy life.
Right.
And the Buddha said, no, Ananda, it is the whole of the holy life.
Oh, good,
and
yeah.
you're interested. You're using the word chari before. We have the word. He used the word brahmacharya. It is the way,
yeah,
brahmacharya, going as the Brahmins do. So that is the true. So having good friends is the whole of that brahmacharya. So not just half the brahmacharya, it's the whole of the holy life. Sometimes that word's translated as holy life. That's okay, I guess, but since you used that word today, but it's so valuable to have good friends. If we haven't got good friends, people like Tanajan, we would be lost. We would be lost. So you can see how valuable. Without good friends, we are lost. It's as simple as that. We are totally lost, and lost in our ignorance, lost in all the kusala that's common in our life. We're lost. So it's so valuable. So I really appreciate your questions, and of course listening to wise people sharing the teachings. It's so valuable for us all.
And we never know when a helpful reminder will come, as Ajahn mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Maybe just a word one or a few words one reads in the text, or listening to anyone, or something one has read. So who knows where the next useful reminder will come. And I think we discussed in one of the discussions last week about being respectful and polite, being able to listen and appreciate the truth when we hear it. And this is the real meaning of politeness and respect, just being able to appreciate the truth when it's heard.
If anyone has other topics, other questions, please feel free. Now would be a good time to introduce them.
Yes, I have a question, Sarah. Could you help me?
Hi, Tam. Tam, go ahead.
How are you?
Very well. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Hope you're managing all right in lockdown.
Yes. Sarah, when there is the right condition, Panya will appears. Panya it appear and disappear straight away. And every time there is a moment of the right condition, Panya appear and disappear. I wonder whether you know the function of Sanya recorded about the Panya or no, or it disappear completely. So there's, you know what I mean?
So you're asking about Panya or about Sanya or both?
Panya first.
Panya. Yes.
When there is a right condition, Panya will appear.
Right.
So
and
we understand.
And what is the condition for Panya to, let's talk about Panya arising. So when Panya arises with the citta, first of all, what is the condition for Panya to arise now? What is the main condition?
There's sati.
Yes, there has to be sati. Sati is the condition.
Samasati.
Yes.
Samasati.
Yes. There has to be right awareness to condition the Panya. And what is the condition for sati and Panya to arise?
There must be citta.
Yes.
Citta condition for Panya to arise.
There's citta at every moment. There's citta at the moment of lobha. There's citta at the moment of seeing.
So
but
kusala, the kusala?
Yes, the main condition has to be the accumulation. Like Ajahn just said to Lucas, the little bit of understanding that arises now conditions more understanding in the future. The understanding from the past, it's gone, but it's carried as a tendency, asya, in the citta, ready to condition more panya in future. So this condition is natural decisive support condition, in Pali, Pakatu Upanisya Pachya. So the main condition for panya is the accumulation, the tendency, the habit of panya. So without panya in the past, there cannot be panya now. And the reason we have this discussion is so that as a condition for panya to arise and condition more panya in the future. So panya arises because of the tendency, the habit, the accumulation of panya from the past up till now. And the panya now conditions more panya in the future. So this is the arising of panya. When we use the word appears, we're talking about the object of citta. So at the moment when panya arises, it depends on conditions, what appears, what is the object. It may be visible object, it may be sound, it may be kindness, it may be anger. It depends what is the object which appears that can be known by the panya arising.
And panya will understand that there's no one, no nothing there.
Because when panya arises, the object, let's say sound, is just sound, just that which is heard at that moment. There's nothing in the sound, there's no one in, it's just the reality, just sound that is heard. So at this moment, is anyone heard?
Yes, so what is the accumulation of panya? Because panya understand it just no one, no nothing. So the accumulation of what? If there's no one, no nothing.
So if there is panya now, if there is understanding now because of considering carefully, that panya arises because it has been accumulated, because there is the tendency for panya to arise. but it's not my panya or your panya. It's just a chitta seeker that arises with chitta for a moment. And as you said before, appears and disappears instantly. It arises, experiences its object, and then it's gone. But because the object doesn't appear well, as Ajahn was mentioning before, there may be doubt afterwards, not understanding, not knowing, was it panya or what was it? Because it's not firm enough. So it has to develop until it's really firm enough to condition the direct understanding of the reality that appears well. So the panya is not self, it's not anyone, it's just a reality that arises for a moment with the citta, as you said, and then gone, never to return again. But that tendency accumulates, just like if there is anger now, that anger falls away, but it leads to a great more accumulation of anger, a little bit easier for anger to arise in future each time, like adding salt to the water, a little bit more, it accumulates. It's the same with panya, it accumulates.
Thank you, Sarah. Because I got confused between whether sanya, the function of sanya, there's the I don't know, recording or keeping the panya so the next time it can appear. But like you said, it's the accumulation, not sanya.
Right. Sanya arises with every citta. It marks and remembers at every citta. And when it arises with kusala or akusala cittas, it also accumulates. And the firm remembrance of what is true or right is a condition for sati and panya to arise. Without, for example, now we're having the discussion, and sanya is marking at each moment what is heard, what is seen, what is thought about. Without the accumulation of wholesome sanya, there couldn't be any sati arising, there couldn't be any panya arising. So the firm sanya is a condition for sati and panya. So at this moment of understanding, there has to be sati, like you said, there has to be the firm remembrance of what is true and right, and there has to be the accumulation of all of them. There has to be the vitaka touching the object. There have to be the accumulation of all the different paramis. So many different factors have to arise to condition each moment of panya. But they all have to be accumulated by natural decisive support condition, pakatu upanisya pachya.
Wow, thank you so much. Yes, very good, very clear. Thank you.
Appreciate your interest, Tan Tan.
Huang, also, Sarah's just mentioned there, pakatu upanisya pachya. I think it might be helpful because I know you're interested in the Pali. The Pali word, there is 3 Pali words. Pakati, which is the same as the Thai word bhakati. It's the same word, pakati, upanisya, and pachya. Now, pakati means usual or common or ordinary or habitual. So that which is, you're asking about what conditions panya. It's the habit. So the first part of that word, pakatupanisya pachya, the first word there is pakati, which means that which is normal, that which is common, that which is habitual. So that which is habitually done, you can say pakatupanisya pachya. It's those 3 Pali words, pakati, upanisya, and pachya. So you can say it's a what is habitually supporting condition. It's a habitual supporting condition. So the more we often say in English, the more you do it, the more you'll do it. That's how habits accumulate. Habits accumulate there are obviously good habits, and there are obviously unhelpful good habits, and there are also unhelpful habits. So when we talk, it's talked a lot with during the discussions here. It sounds very complex, pakatupinasi pacha, and people say, what's that? It's just that condition, that pacha, which is commonly done and can support the next moment or many other moments, because kusala supports kusala, akusala supports akusala, kusala supports, and also by way of this word again, I'll try and say it in English because I think it's more helpful, habitually support condition, that habitual support condition, kusala also supports akusala, because we know that you might be very glad when you performed a type of kusala, which is, so therefore we can see that kusala sometimes leads to akusala. This condition is very, very common and happens a lot in our lives all the time, and it's mentioned, and you often hear it a lot. So it just means that which is habitually done and is a support condition for other conditions. So it's not about a self, it's about habits and how they condition further habits of the similar nature, or sometimes an unrelated nature, but they are connected by this condition.
Yes, thank you, Sundra. Yep. It's very good.
And the root of that word pakati, or bokati in Thai, is literally kr. The root of that word, when we say in Pali, we talk about the root of a word, we're talking about the dhatu. Dhatu means root. And the root is kr. And that's how we get an English word create. It means to do. So that which is done often by repeating it time and time again. We often say in English that what is done, what you think about can lead to doing something. What you do can lead to a certain habit. What is habitually done can lead to a certain type of character. What you do by way of a character can lead to a certain type of destiny. So all these types of intentions lead to other consequences. So it's not about a person, it's about how conditions support one another and lead to certain outcomes, not a person. So you're asking me about supporting conditions for panya. Well, there are many conditions. Certainly one of them is to listen, and this can lead on to deeper consideration, which will lead on to more kusala and more understanding. And as I spoke just a moment ago before about the Brahmacharya, and when the Ananda asked the Buddha, he said to the Buddha, having good friends is half the holy life. And the Buddha said, no, it's not half the holy life. It's the whole of the holy life. To have good friends and to be able to, therefore, and those good friends, those kalyana mittas, they enable us to have more understanding by way of our own accumulations, in a sense.
Thank you. Yep.
I've been reminded recently, Tanajan, of something you have often said or asked in the past: is do we have the courage to let go, or the courage to understand that there is no self? And I know, well, through various phases, I thought, courage, okay. Why does it take courage? But then I find the further one listens and considers the Dhamma, that becomes clear that it takes a lot of courage to understand and let go. And this I've found sometimes that message has come home through, well, I guess most recently, looking at some posts on the DSG about anatta, no self, sunyata. There were quite a few posts thinking about that. And I suddenly found myself one day really jolted, sort of physically and emotionally, at the thought of no self. And I don't think that was. I think that, you know, there's some recognition as to just how difficult it is and how tenaciously we cling to the self, and how until there's enough understanding, it has to be that way. John, Sarah?
True. That's true.
But I was quite surprised. I mean, it was a serious.
It depends when you use the term courage. When one is enslaved to lopa, what about the courage? Different. Courageous, wholesome, or unwholesome. But when panya is there, courageous means understanding how long it will take, how difficult, very deeply reality is, even right now. It doesn't appear as it is so deep because it is seeing and visible object. But the truth of it is so very deep because it's not anyone at all. It is conditioned just to arise to see, that's all, and then gone. See? And when one is not enslaved by attachment to the idea of self, one feels quite free to be not enslaved anymore to ignorance and attachment. So all depends on understanding. When there's more and more understanding, there can be more pity and more free not to be enslaved as usual or as so much as usual. So realities are conditioned to be such and such. The great understanding cannot condition sorrow about having no I anymore, but actually it's quite free from being enslaved by attachment to such wrong understanding, which condition more and more courage for akusala. So I don't know whether we can use courage for both, whether it is wholesome or unwholesome in general.
I suppose if there's an understanding of the danger of akusala, then it's possible that there's courage to be facing the akusala, the amount of akusala there that can arise, the accumulations. Where if there's no fear of akusala, then it's not going to take any courage to face it.
From akusala, can it be courage?
I'm sorry? Can you ask again, please?
Akusala, can it be courage too?
Or
We are talking about courageous in developing understanding, right? When panya is there. But what about when panya is not there? When it is attachment for something which is hard to get, is there any courage too? Or can we cannot
akusala courage, akusala virya.
akusala.
Can be, like we can say one has to be have a lot of courage to jump into the freezing water or something, akusala virya, with attachment.
Yes.
Or when it's even when talking about the Dhamma, when it's like courage but with aversion, like shock when hearing about anatta, then it's not the kusala virya. So it can different moments.
I think, and it'll always depend on the context, Tana Jankap, because certainly, as we know, I think we can say that development of understanding, there must be courage. And as you've pointed out to us too, that Panya will know whether that, as Sarah has pointed out, it can be certainly a kusala, but it certainly can be kusala. It's the understanding that's always the important thing. And many of the Jataka stories, we can see that the Buddha in past lives and many of the Agasawakas also developed this sort of level, this kusala level of or courage at the level of kusala, or kusala at the level of courage, if you want to put it that way, in many of their past lives. In their pursuit of understanding, shall we say?
And the more understanding, the more courage.
Put it about everything, right? Not only the wholesome courage. That's why when we talk about anything, we should understand the absolute reality of it. Otherwise, we take it for something all the time.
Yeah, true, Ajahn.
Yes, sure.
It's just a superficial understanding on, we just say, oh, all dhammas are anatta. It doesn't take any courage, but to really give up the idea of self and to really understand dhammas as anatta. It takes courage, and this has to be with kusala cittas, with pleasant feeling or neutral feeling. So it's not like the courage when there is a shock at finding out that it means there's no one there in reality. So different moments of kusala and akusala virya. But the courage we're talking about is the parami, the wholesome courage that develops with understanding deeper and deeper, stronger and stronger.
When I mentioned this sort of jolt of fear that occurred, I took it as just having no understanding of just how deep the idea of self was or is, how it's so it's ingrained. I mean, it definitely, understanding is the only way out of that. But I think one can go along intellectually thinking one has some understanding of it, and this will be, that, but to get this, well, I think it really hit home the message of just how far away it is and how deep it is.
And that is Panya, which knows.
Yeah.
When Panya is more and stronger, it can understand how deep the reality is. Deeper and deeper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like we were saying to Lucas, different chariot at each moment. So the moment of fear and the jolt, akusala cittas, but then followed by moments with understanding and wise considering and seeing the depth of the teaching. So different moments, different chariot, and only understanding can know.
Yes. Yeah.
Like someone may feel so disturbed when they hear about anatta. They know there's something important, but it's so disturbing. But at the moments of being disturbed, then it's not understanding, but there can be understanding in between. So different moments.
Yes. And I think we most of us here have listened to the Dhamma for a number of years, and we get accustomed to and accept at some level that there is no self, although yet to be directly understood. Like I say, this is just a reminder of just how deep it is, just how much deeper it is than we think, because we can't really know until We know.
So we can understand the different levels of panya or understanding.
Yes.
Very superficial and deeper and deeper.
Yes, that's true.
And that's why it always has to come back to the study of dharmas. Like at the very beginning, when Lucas asked a question about Chari and Ajahn asked, what is the reality? Because if it's not the understanding of realities deeper and deeper, it's always just superficial understanding about this one's behavior or that one's behavior, or my understanding of anatta, or there's no one here or something. So only by understanding more about the reality at this very moment can there be the deeper understanding of the truth of reality as anatta.
Yes.
Deeper and deeper.
And even and if it is, what you perhaps use the word superficial or tender or beginning, whatever word you like to use, it supports the next moment.
Yes.
So it's always valuable, no matter what. We're all beginners,
Right.
in many ways. So we can appreciate that any small or tiny amount can lead on to more.
Yes, yes. It can't be any other way.
No, that's like that condition we talked about before, that pakatuka nasipacha. It just sounds like a very complex word, but it's how little by little habits accumulate, good habits and bad habits. And by that support condition, not a person, just a conditionality which supports more of the same and similar types of conditions.
Yes, for sure.
That's why one can understand more about what is meant by intellectual understanding. There must be understanding, not just remembering the word or talk about the name, but the understanding little by little until it's so very skillful to understand what is meant in the Sutta, Abhidhamma, Vinaya.
Yes. Yes, we can distinguish between intellectual understanding and direct understanding on an intellectual level, for sure. And we put more value on direct understanding, but there's no direct understanding, no possibility without the intellectual understanding. And that's important. That's an enormous first step.
Yeah, totally. And because, it's pariyatti or skillful pariyatti, whatever you like to call it, that leads on to patipatti. You can't have one without the other. They're indispensable. They're vital, for one another.
Yes.
I think it's a good point that Ajahn referred to earlier, that the more kusala courage develops with understanding, the more kusala piti there is, and freedom from
Yes.
Clinging. Because when people hear about courage or the development of panya, they don't always see that it has to be with joy, wholesome joy at those moments, letting go the burden, letting go the baggage of self. So it's actually freeing and brings joy, not kind of shock or horror or fear. Yeah.
If it's bringing shock or horror or fear, there's need for much more panya.
Just more akusala being accumulated, not understanding those moments.
That's right.
And can we say that is panya?
Which is this, Ajahn? The fear, or
Yes, yeah,
no, the fear is not Panya.
that's right. Even that should be known too. Everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Or like Sarah said, there can be subsequent moments of Panya, but the fear, the moment of fear itself is definitely not Panya.
Mind you, I hear what you're saying. Just one of those levels of, I believe this is one of the, the levels of insight, Bhaya Jnana. So in Bhaya is usually translated as fear, or one of the translations is fear. So it can be a precipitating condition to deeper understanding. So it's not so much the word as Tanajan would say, it's the understanding that's the important thing. You could use the word, to me, it seems very plausible that you can use the word Bhaya in relationship to the development of understanding. That seems very plausible to me. So it's always going to come down. It's always going to come down to the excuse me. It's always going to come down to the understanding of at that particular moment. Usually, often when we think of that word, though, yeah, I think I'd agree it can mean a kusala, but I don't think it always has to mean a kusala.
But Jnana doesn't mean the arising of fear. It means seeing the fearfulness in that which is conditioned, seeing the fearfulness, seeing the danger, seeing the everything that is bad in what is conditioned. So it's so fearful, that which arises and falls away instantly, but is the object of clinging instantly. So at the moment of understanding, it is with joy to see it as it is, no fear arising at those moments, but understanding why each rupa that arises now, each nama that arises now, is so very dangerous.
Yeah, Sarah, the word Paya is used for danger, not fear in Thai.
Mm-hmm. So dangerous, whatever is conditioned to arise. So no fear, no akusala citas, but understanding that it's so dangerous because it arises and is instantly the object of clinging and then falls away. So as understanding develops higher and higher, then when it understands that whatever arises falls away directly, then it begins to understand how dangerous it is.
Yeah, at the risk of sounding pedantic, I don't think there's necessarily a great deal of difference between those two. We'll use them in different situations, but what is dangerous is often fearful also. So, again, it's not so much the word, how you translate it, it'll be the understanding. So seeing, and you mentioned there in Thai, kunsukin, antarai also can mean dangerous. So a lot of words that can relate to fear. You should, because danger to me does imply fear to a wise person. When we talk about ottappa, hiri and ottappa, there's that aspect of seeing we can say the shamefulness with hiri, the inner fear, or the inner shame, if you like. So sometimes we can use these different nouns in different ways, but they can have similar connotations.
There's a difference, I think, between seeing the fearfulness in something and being afraid of it.
Yes,
Sure.
sometimes when people are so afraid, or they so shocked. They think that this is some kind of understanding or insight, but it's actually just akusala citas, nothing to do with any understanding of the fearfulness of dharmas,
Right.
or the danger of dharmas.
Yes, because often when it happens, it's like, I'm afraid. My fear.
Fear of what? Couldn't Anne at that
Sorry.
moment. At that very moment,
I was,
fear of what?
I didn't have a what in mind. It's
Unpleasant feeling?
yes, probably. Danger.
What is the object of fear?
Any situation? John, are you referring back to my description of the fear?
Yes. When you think about the loss of self.
Oh, the loss of self. Oh, that's a lot of, I think it's a lot of attachment to self and loss. The fear is the fear of the loss. There's no
So
need.
it's not panya,
No,
right?
no, it's definitely Panya Dhanajan. No, not at all.
So when it's panya, it's not just like that. It's
I'm
not
sorry.
like that at all.
No. It didn't occur to me for a moment. It was Panya. It was more showing the
So then,
depth of ignorance and the extreme clinging to the idea of self.
so that moment can be the reminder for ignorance there. See
Yes.
how much ignorance is there
A lot.
to fear such and such thought.
Yeah, a lot. Well, I didn't take it that there was any panya occurring in that experience.
Like fear of death, see?
Yep.
Not understanding that it's just any moment, momentary death.
Right. That's right. It could be any moment. Yes. Well, there is death every moment, and conventional death could be any moment. Yeah.
So it's quite a long way to let go of clinging object like sanya, vedana, sankhara, citta, dhamma in daily life. So it has to be right now. And now it's developing understanding of the truth intellectually. And the direct understanding with direct awareness is of only one object. And depending on panya, how it appears well enough or not yet, little by little, up to the moment when it arises and falls away. How well of such and such level. No fear.
Right. With understanding, no fear.
I mean, it's true that fear can be a condition because it can be the object of panya, like anything can be the object of panya. But if there is the idea that fear is a useful condition for understanding, then it's quite wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I see
because
that.
it's like dosa and with unpleasant feeling just leads to more dosa with unpleasant feeling,
Right,
even
and-
though it can be the object of understanding even now.
And it's not going to arise with panya
No,
ever.
nothing to do with vijnana
Right,
at all.
right. I understand that. Thank you. Azita or Tadal, was there anything you wanted to raise this evening or this morning?
Good morning, people. Good morning, Achan. I have a question about the last jhana process in a life. If those jhana jittas are either kusala or agusala, well, they're either gusala or agusala, and so the object of those jittas becomes the object of the patisanti jitta, the bhavanga jittas, and the juti jitta of next life. So if it's kusala, if those jhana jittas are kusala, that means there is sati with those jittas. And is that why there's sati in the bhavanga jittas?
What conditions sati at moment of bhavanga? What conditions sati?
Well, that's what I'm not sure, because that's come up a couple of times in former discussions. So I've been thinking, and I thought, well, there must be, if the rebirth is kusala, then the jhana process prior to that patisanti jitta must have been gusala jittas, and gusala jittas have sati with them. It's not necessarily panya, but must have sati if it's kusala. So
that's why we're talking about the cause and the result. If the cause doesn't have panya with it, can it condition the vipaka with panya?
no, definitely not.
When there is the kusala kamma, there must be sati with it. So it condition its vipaka. Does it not condition sati to arise with such vipaka?
Yes, that's what I think I've understood from those few discussions we've had, because a question came up regarding why did bhavanga jittas have sati, and it's because those bhavanga jittas, they are kusala vipaka, results of kusala kamma.
When the kusala kamma has panya with it, it conditions the vipaka with panya. When there is no panya, only sati and wholesome cetasika, because it's wholesome kamma, which it can condition the cetasika and citta to arising together as vipaka of it.
Yes, right. Okay, that's cleared it up. It was a little bit confusing for me, but I can understand why there is sati now with
Usually, since there must be pavanga and then mind experience the same object, but not seeing, and sampatichana santirina. So the savanachita of the Panchatvara Vachana is that. So at the moment when the Manotvara Vachana, which follows after that, has the same kusala or kusalama in the first Manotvara Vachana, which followed directly from Sensa. So that's why the javana before death, the aramana of that, is instead of having mind or process as usual, it's time of death. So after that, it is the death moment, and the vipaka, which are the same object, instead of usual mind or process. That's all.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit more information I hadn't even considered before. So you're saying that with each sense door process, it's immediately followed by a mind door process, and it has to be of the same jati as that mind door process, sense door process.
So at the time of death, it cannot be manodvara vachana as usual, but it's time for Chutti Chitta to arise. So after that, Patisanti Chitta follows. So it experiences the same object as the Javana before death.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a good piece of information. Thank you, Ajahn. I didn't know that before regarding the immediately following mind door process either. So I can understand now why that patisanti is either kusala or akusala. Thank you. Thank you.
Because usually after sense door, there must be the mind door process experience the same object as sense door.
Yeah.
In the same way.
Right.
Like if the idol process now, if the visible object that is seen, the first mind or process that follows the idol process, exactly the same visible object appears, the nimitta of the same visible object, the same visible object that was experienced in the idol process. But if death comes now, then it cannot be that mind or process, but the object is the same. By the same object of the Patisanti Chitta.
Oh, that's really good information. That gives more of an idea of just how uncontrollable it all is. And Anne, I was thinking before, yes, the shock of anatta, but it can also bring a bit of, we've talked just in the past few weeks about joyful. And occasionally, when I'm going through, and it'll come to me, look, it's just all what it is. There's no self. It's actually a relieving feeling. It almost makes me find a bit of humor in it. So I think there can be not only the fear of and the danger, but there can also be a relief that this is just going to go on endlessly until there is, the realization of nibbana, and it could be eons and eons, but there is still only the present moment to be known. So forget about the eons and the
That's right.
whatever. Yeah.
I think I understand what you're talking about, Hazita. It's just another. It's just, more moments. The moments that happened, there was no panya for sure, and yet there's been a lot of reflection since, without fear, and I just knowing how difficult it is and how far we have to go before, I think that's it, how far we have to go. These are not insights that they're going to come any too quickly. There's a lot to be understood. Much more than we think there is.
And I sometimes say, oh, it's going to take eons, but I think it's pointless in a way, focusing on how long it will take. I mean, it's good to know, because then there is knowing that it's not easy. It's a very profound teaching. But again, as Ajahn keeps bringing us back, it is only ever now that the knowing the panya can arise and grow. And
Yes.
without that, then it's, well, without that, there's a lot, we're lost.
It's just one moment of now to the next.
Yeah, exactly.
And the point is, Zita, if it's not Panya, which understands, then it's just thinking without understanding.
Yeah.
Yes, Sukin, that's true. It's just a lot of thinking, but there's the confidence that Panya does occasionally arise, weak as it is, and that the arising of it accumulates. I mean, there's a lot more accumulation of Gusala, I would think, but there's no controlling any of it. That's the other thing. There is absolutely, we can't guide any which way. I was thinking about that when Lucas was talking earlier. There's, yes, the Buddha did encourage doing good, but who can do that? Who can make that happen? It's only Panya that knows that doing good is a good thing.
And before doing good, you must know what good is, right?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah. And it's not my doing good.
And there can be lots of thinking about how long it will take and how lost in samsara we are. And it can all be the story of I and my long trip. So it all depends on the moment, whether it's understanding of Dhamma or whether it's just more stories about my long time in samsara again. So it always comes back to this moment.
When you said my long trip, I was thinking of you, Sarah's long trip. Quarantine in Hong Kong, flights with masks, quarantine in Sydney.
Packing, unpacking, lifetime after lifetime, on and on and on. So it can be either the understanding of how long it takes Panya and the understanding of Dhammas, or it can just be the thinking about how long it will take me and my story and so on. So only Panya can know now.
Hello, Hung. Are you wanting to say something?
And can you speak or else mute?
Oh, I'm sorry. I muted.
And Zita, just a short comment on the subject you brought up about the kusala jittas in the last javana process before death having to be kusala if there was to be rebirth in a happy realm. I think this is why in some countries where there's this information is known, there's this mad sort of scramble to engender kusala jittas in the dying person by the family members who surround him or her and start chanting or doing whatever they think will be a condition for those kusala jittas to arise in the last javana process. But of course, it's all just wishful thinking.
Yes, John, I was thinking about that too, because I know, they get monks to come and chant over a dying person, and it's supposed to help them for a better existence. But yeah, probably a pointless activity.
I mean, pointless. What they're missing is that that whole activity of trying to do that is attachment.
Yes, and like I've seen people dying and death with my job, and I've thought about it. You know, how do they know? I suppose their thinking is, well, we'll just go and chant by chance. Somebody will, you know, have a good life, but it's very haphazard behavior, I think. But I guess it's the belief system that exists in some parts of the world.
We never know what the conditions may be. They may, for the dying one, they may hear the chanting, may be conditioned for attachment instantly, or when the relative holds the hand, again, can be conditioned for attachment at that moment. Or someone may hear Ajahn voice, can be attachment at that moment. No one can control any chitta, not now, not anytime at all.
I mean, there can be instances like for any one of us, we know that the dying person likes to hear Dhamma in daily life, so that's what we open for him, you know, before that. So that's okay. That's his daily life.
It can be kusala chittas, doing one's best, that's all, doing one's best to help. We have no idea, just like when one says kind words or helps someone, we have no expectations, no idea what the result will be, because no one can control another, but one just does one's best with kusala at those moments, that's all.
I think, well, for me anyway, talking about the moment of Juti Jitta, Jawana Jitta's prior to, and Patisanti Jitta, it engenders in me total uncontrollability. However, when I bring it back to this moment, there's no more control in this moment than there is in the moments of Juti, Jawana, Juti, and Patisanti. So.
And that's the point, isn't it? I mean, to see that uncontrollability in this moment, to understand this, then you know that it's the same then.
And that's why it's only by understanding the momentary death now, understanding reality now that arises and falls away by conditions, that there can be any understanding of the last moment of life, which is the conventional death only. Actually, it's a moment now, like now. Oops, we've just talked about unexpected. We've just been called by the COVID nurses to do another test,
COVID
so we
test.
have to disappear.
But I'll just add before shutting off that, Sukin, that's the characteristic of anattanas, isn't it, of conditioned realities, when that is seen, the uncontrollability that we've been discussing. Okay, I have to
Well, good luck.
take my COVID test.
Good luck with your test, Jonathan and Sarah.
Azita, it's anatta.
Yes, but I think, you know, it's normal saying. Well, now that's a good point, Sukin. When we were talking about that, you know, the dying moment, and then Sarah said it's each moment is a dying moment, really, when jittas fall away. But because it seems like things last, you know, things appear to hang together. It's not like suddenly I'm in a completely different place. Although I am in reality, it just, you know, each moment is different. But for me, it's like, I think Achan may have mentioned some time ago the magician, you know, I don't know if it's Jitta that's the magician or Lopa, but we cling on to the things we see, the things we hear, and there is clinging on to them, and there's recalling them. So there's all those sankhara, I suppose it's the sankhara khandas, just making up this big story, and on it goes. But it's when, you know, it's when talking about those last moments of, say, this life and the beginning moments of another existence, it really brings home to me the total uncontrollability and utterness of it all. Whereas this present moment, like I said, it seems to be more hanging together. Do you know what I mean?
What you're saying is that you understand anatta when you think in terms of a story, a description. But in this moment, when we're talking about this moment, we're actually talking about one reality. And in that one reality, that characteristic does not appear, I mean, to any of us, right? So each time when you're thinking about this moment, it seems to be, it's just a whole. It's not that characteristic of anatta is not there. So we are not, at the same time, there's no condition to spin a story about the present moment, because that word present moment implies just that one reality, and that one reality is not seen. On the other hand, when you're thinking about the Chuti Chitta and the Patisanti Chitta, etc., it's a story. So in that story, it's that idea of uncontrollability seemed to make sense. But in this moment, you can't spin that same story, because again, the word "this moment" does not allow for that story to come up. So it's still you sitting here. What about it? You know, it's not that characteristic. There's no story of anatta about it. So it actually is a reminder about how little understanding is there. So even though we are saying that it's all anatta, or we say that there's so much ignorance, it's not really seen. Right? Think about ignorance. We say there's a lot of ignorance, but what is ignorance? Right.
They're good points, Sukin, especially you've pointed out that, you know, me thinking about those last moments of this life, it is just a story. It's just a lot of thinking. Just the same as thinking about people riding down on their bicycles just went past my window. So, yeah, it's all just stories, isn't it? Until there is that moment of really understanding a reality.
But on the other hand, as Sundar was saying earlier, they can be pakatupanisya pachaya for understanding what appears now, because we've had that understanding before. That it can be, on the other hand, there be people who think that impermanence is like when we grow old and then die. That's their idea of impermanence. For them, there's no condition for understanding what this moment is, because they have the wrong idea about impermanence. So although there's no understanding for us to see impermanence in this moment, we know the difference. We know that impermanence is about the rise and fall of realities, not a old age and death. We're not talking about that conventional impermanence, where we're talking about the impermanence of realities. So even though there's no understanding this moment, as long as, let's say, in the background, we have that understanding, it can be a condition for that understanding to arise.
and that's pariyatti understanding, I would think. Yeah. And that is a precursor to developing understanding. But again, you know, this clinging on to my understanding. So, yeah, sometimes it feels like it's all a big mess, but
it is because we are ignorant. There is a lot of ignorance. So it is a mess most of the time. Almost all the time. That's it. And I think I was thinking today also, earlier when I came in late and I didn't hear what happened in the beginning. But we were talking about pariyati, we were talking about intellectual understanding, and I was thinking, sometimes we wonder what is intellectual understanding, and but we forget that it's the word understanding. Understanding is not thinking, and we are thinking whether a particular kind of thinking is intellectual understanding. Well, no, it has to be that that Dhamma that performs the function of understanding. So although we don't know, at least intellectually, we know that it is not thinking is one Dhamma, understanding is another Dhamma. Right.
And you've just given an example there.
I'm going to have to turn.
Azita, you've just given an example there when you said clinging on to my understanding or clinging on to understanding. That is another example of pakatupa nisiyapacchaya. It's like just habits reinforcing each other. So it's another habit accumulating with the other ones, and it's just another aspect of conditionality. It's no different in that sense. So I just thought that was a good example of how kusala can be a condition for akusala.
But also we have to be clear that clinging itself is akusala, whereas understanding is kusala. So we can't expect that clinging is going to lead to kusala. Anything can be pakatupa nisiyapacchaya, but we don't know what's going to be that's going to be. But clinging itself is not a condition for panya. That's for sure.
Oh no, absolutely not. But I'm just saying it's just another example. I think, as you pointed out there, that it's just another aspect of conditionality. Right, you're right. That's a good point to make, actually. But that can happen how we have attachment towards the level of akusala that there is at that particular moment. Oh, sorry, attachment towards the kusala. Sorry. And I just thought it was just a good example. You know, one doesn't directly condition the other. But it'd be an interesting point, actually. So, I'm not entirely sure about that, because when there is clinging, certainly at that particular moment, we can't say that it's a condition for panya. But yeah, all this aspect of conditionality is so complex. Tana Jankup, I know we're getting late now, but perhaps a question I'd like to ask there is, like Azita just mentioned before, we have attachment towards my understanding. To what extent is that attachment bound up with understanding? Can you help me with that a little bit? Tana Jankup, maybe she's Tana Jan has gone now. I'm not too sure.
Please just repeat your question again.
All right. Azita made the point before that we have attachment towards our understanding. So the attachment is obviously kusala, and the understanding obviously is kusala. And they're related to each other by way of pakatupa nisiyapacchaya, because we can see that sometimes the akusala is conditioned by the kusala. So my question is, to what extent is our attachment a condition for kusala? In what way, or can it be? In what way, if any, can attachment be a condition for kusala?
people have different accumulation. For some people, they just want to anything, everything, all the time, no matter it is listening to Dhamma or listening to the music or listening to such and such tales and so on. But what about the accumulation? Deeply down there, is there any kusala or any a little of panya or not? Who knows? All depends on conditions that only panya can know directly when it's there. So there can be wanting to go to the Dhamma discussion. See, so for someone who haven't heard about the teaching at all, they can be just wanting to know but no one. They don't have any idea yet, but they just want to. But when they were there, listening to the teachings, there can be a moment of understanding. Is that right?
Yes, yes, Ajahn. Yes, certainly.
There can be direct condition and indirect condition too.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I'd agree. That makes sense to me, Ajahn. Thank you.
And that's any friend. Are you afraid of? I mean, not just you. Anyone is afraid of death?
Yes, to some extent. Well,
another question: does anyone fear, or is anyone afraid of next moment?
No, we usually have. It's a good question, Ajahn. Excellent question. Usually we have
good question.
We always have attachment.
The next moment at all. No fear of it. So it can be death. So
that's right.
Rapidity of changing from one to another, the same as this moment and next moment. And when next moment is there, the loss of this life completely there. No one can have any idea of this life at all. Just a moment ago, where were we? See, where was that person? No idea at all. So just new life. Just start again. To see, to hear, to think another story, another conditions. That's all. So it goes on like this. If we don't think in terms of this, it's just like this moment and next moment. Just like that. Even right now. From moment to moment, it's not known. So the same as the death moment is not known. Just like now. From moment to moment. Different people, different things. No idea about the past at all.
So you would say, Ajahn, that this sort of the interrelationship or the connectedness of different conditions is very complex sometimes.
Right. That's right. It's so very difficult, so very deep, so very subtle to know all Dhamma.
Yeah, totally, Ajahn. That makes sense to us. Look, thanks. So, look, Ajahn, Ajahn, I really appreciated you this morning. I always appreciate you, and as I'm sure everybody else does, your incredible patience and your courage in a way too. We all really appreciate it so much. As I said, I appreciated a lot listening to Lucas this morning too. I don't know if you're still there, Lucas, but thank you so much for all your questions.
Yeah, I appreciate and with joyful